The Shadowlands are pretty bleak and dark, because of the permanent darkness that the sun cannot shine through, because of the curse that infected the land and can still affect living things, and because of the tragedy that it left behind in Reithwin town. In stark contrast to the previous sunny maps, the Shadowlands were designed to induce a sense of dread. Even the Underdark is brighter than this place. But the deeper darkness in the Shadowlands that I felt at a more pronounced note has to come from all the dark fates of the people who have perished there. There are many details that depict just how much suffering this curse has caused, and because it touched me on an emotional level, I gathered as many as I could find to display them here. The Last Light Inn is quite aptly named the last light in the darkness. As the base for the harpers and the players should they choose, this is a safe haven from the shadow curse. For a little while, the player is safe here, provided they are not attacked by Kethric's forces. Because it is also a target, just like Shadowheart points out. The one speck of light in the dark, easy to find, easy to target. Just a little ways away from this beacon of hope, there is a house right at the edge of the light orb, completely engulfed in the shadow curse. Inside, we find a couple of skeletons. These two look like they died together, holding each other. It is a very sad sight to come across, and it's not the only one. The battle between the Harpers and the Druids against Kethric's forces 100 years in the past was, by all accounts, horrific. We first heard of it in the Druid Grove if we investigate the murals and pass some skill checks to get more information.
Towers seized, the battle done. The moonrise broke the darkest one. Darkest hour a concord made, twixt harp and wild against the shade. Harp and wild? You recall stories of an alliance between druids and the harpers.
The remnants of the battle can be seen by the player, piles of bodies strewn everywhere, the creeping darkness that threatens to engulf you, literally. And the damaged, cracked, difficult to navigate terrain all stand as evidence of this battle and its cursed end. Reithwin Town is what this place used to be called, and we still encounter vestiges of the people who used to live here. In the House of Healing there is a skeleton lying on the floor, just right of the main front entrance. It might not seem like much, just another long dead person to add to the pile, but he has a story. We have only seen and heard about the events that took place here from either the Harpers or the Druids, so from one side of this battle. We can now find out what it was like for the other side, the people battling in Kethric's name. The skeleton we find in the House of Healing has a ring with the name True Love's Embrace, and a journal that details how this man's partner Miranda, a Sharon cleric, volunteered to fight. We see how worried he was for her safety, and we read how she proposed to him and blessed the rings herself. As a cleric, she is able to perform marriage rites. It sounds like a tragic love story at its core, but it hides a sinister undertone. The rings blessed by Miranda actually give her resistance to damage types, adds a +1 to her armor class and saving throws, but the most insidious aspect of this whole thing is that when she takes damage in battle, her husband takes the same amount of damage. In his diary, the husband wrote how Miranda came out of a fight without a scratch on her, and how he was feeling dizzy. Blood came out of his nose, and Miranda found him passed out. She specifically advises him not to go to the House of Healing. In the last entry in his journal, we see how the husband experiences more and more wounds appearing on his body. He did go to the House of Healing, and the nurse there asked him about the ring that he was wearing, but she sent him home without any answers. Now we can also find Miranda's skeleton. If you go from the room where we find Arabella's parents into the cemetery, there is a skeleton in a sitting position. This is Miranda. She has a diary on herself as well, and the other ring, the matching one. And it is called True Love's Caress. We don't get to read about how she felt about her husband. She only bemoans about hardships and about the lost easy days. Alas, it appears she has doomed her husband to death. In a way, this was probably a mercy. The shadow curse was likely not the cause of his death, but instead he possibly perished due to the wounds she sustained in battle, as it transferred to him as well. I initially thought she used the rings to take her husband's pains away, and was very moved by Miranda's devotion, but on closer inspection I saw that it was the other way around. She was using him to boost herself and did not even tell him about it. I guess it was too much to ask that a Shar worshipper would feel great love in her heart for her husband. Still in the House of Healing, if you take the elevator to the next floor and shimmy your way onto the roof, you'll find yet another couple who has died in each other's embrace. They seem to have made a picnic on the rooftop with comfy bedding and pillows, a bottle of something alcoholic, and a book of poetry. The poem we get to read is probably written by one of these two. It mentions Reithwin and the looming darkness. It depicts the couple's love and how they came here to watch the stars. It's their last night together before ultimately dying together. This last one was the romantic sweet nugget I was hoping to find. Tragic, but still so very touching. I know most of us don't like this part of the game because it was so dark and gloomy and we kinda just wanted to see the sun again after a while. I had played with my partner, and after this map he made it very clear every time we went into a dungeon that he wanted to go out and see the sun again, that it kept reminding him of the dark map that we previously came out of. But in some odd way, I liked the Shadowlands. Not as Shadowheart did, but because I loved to find a glimmer of light that still survived here after all this time. It was masterfully designed, and it managed to create such a dark yet moving atmosphere. Of course, these are all just some small little details that I noticed about the people that died here. There are some bigger ones like the zombies in the brewery and the floating skulls in the toll house. Desperation was all around, and it all ended in tragedy.